Now, on Tuesday, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos decided to eliminate $18 million of funds from the Special Olympics, as well as a 26% cut in special education programs in schools across the country. Now, this is in a proposed budget, so the cuts aren't actually going to happen unless the budget gets through. And nonetheless, these cuts are incredibly deep to some very important programs. Now, she said of those cuts, quote, "We had to make some difficult decisions. We're not doing our children any favors when we borrow from their future in order to invest in systems and policies that are not yielding better results. I think the Special Olympics is an awesome organization, one that's supported by the philanthropic sector as well." Now, she's cutting all $18 million, eliminating the Special Olympics program, all that funding. However, that same budget gives $60 million to charter schools. Charter schools, look, I live in Michigan. Charter schools here have been nearly a complete and total failure. So it has not increased the level of education in children. In fact, they've actually, in a lot of places, have had worse results and have taken money from public schools. And so, pretty disastrous. And yet, that shows her priority, giving more money to charter schools, taking it away from actual schools and other programs that are actually deeply beneficial. Now, the internet, of course, had a response from this. But first, I want to read you a tweet here from Representative Mark Pocan, who went after her during that hearing. He said, "In Betsy DeVos' budget, there are major cuts to programs like the Special Olympics. Secretary DeVos didn't know the number of kids who would be hurt by that cut, so I made sure she now knows that 272,000 kids are seeing their support taken away." Now, that's a good tweet, and it's a good exchange between Pocan and DeVos. Now, following that, the internet decided to take their turn, and I'm going to read you some tweets here. Gravalanche Policy says, "What if ending the Special Olympics is part of a larger move to deplatform people with disabilities suffering from private healthcare's dominance and who aren't vulnerable to the neoliberal individualistic rhetoric of they don't work hard enough. Hashtag Medicare for all." Maybe. I mean, I didn't think of it that way. That is an interesting perspective. And I didn't think that maybe, hey, maybe they're right. Or maybe it's just she doesn't care about people with disabilities, doesn't care about racial and ethnic minorities, doesn't care about people who can't afford to go to school in their charter schools. Could also be that. But I think that's a great tweet. There's more. Johnny Bring Back Beth, in response to a Twitter account that hashtag Free Beth needs to come back. Bourgeois Alien, she actually got banned from Twitter for no reason. Well, anyway, they should definitely consider bringing her back. She said, or I should say he said, "I suspect this is the case. People like DeVos see special needs and disabilities as drains on society. And I think in strict terms of dollars and cents and how they can get the biggest transfer of wealth to the rich as possible." I actually think that's far more likely. Sackbolt says, "To better translate what Betsy DeVos is saying, education should only be offered to people that can pay for an education. Everyone else would be shining shoes on Broadway in New York City. Education will become like healthcare. People who can't afford it to educate their kids won't." There's more. Carrie R. Loves Soccer says, "As an announcer for the LA Special Olympics Games in 2015, I worked firsthand with athletes, coaches, and managers from all over the world. Their energy, joy, and passion was inspirational to all of us. I'm so thankful for that opportunity. Shame on you, Betsy DeVos." Now, that just makes me think of a Trump quote on the Special Olympics, where he said something around the lines of, "It's very difficult for me to watch." What's difficult about it? What I see is people who are striving and doing excellence when they have, they have had obvious, there are setbacks, right? And they have overcome those. And actually, I think they're all better athletes than me, to be honest with you. Definitely better athletes than Donald Trump, and have achieved far more in their life than someone like Trump and someone like Betsy DeVos, who's basically just been given all of her money. So I would much, much rather have a lot of that money or all that money going to the people in Special Olympics. Because you know what? Those people are much, much better people than Donald Trump and Betsy DeVos. That's for sure. Or a lot of these rich D-bags that don't actually add anything to the economy or add anything to the culture or add anything to America. All right, more. Summer Rose Wells says, Betsy DeVos, the spawn of Satan. Those kids look forward to the Special Olympics. What is wrong with you? Yep. Carrie says, I have nothing to say, but Betsy DeVos and this administration are truly effing evil, effing soulless. Wagatwe Wanjuki says, Betsy DeVos has been wildly effective at pushing our government's white supremacist goals. Ableism is a part of white supremacy, right? Defunding the Special Olympics is absolutely a part of that. That's another interesting perspective that I didn't think of before. But yeah, look, there is a problem with ableism, right? Ableism is basically, look, it's something that we don't necessarily talk about, right? How we discriminate against those who seem to be less able than we are, instead of helping them fulfill their potential, which is what we should be doing. All right. Liz Plank says, Betsy DeVos donated a portion of her salary to the Special Olympics only to turn around and decimate the entirety of its funding as a special kind of plutocrat, savior, ableist BS. Oh, that's so good. Adam Best says, just when you thought the Trump administration couldn't possibly stoop any lower, Betsy DeVos and company cut all funding for the Special Olympics. There is no bottom. Well, that's what I've been saying all along. When it comes to the Trump administration, there's no bottom to that barrel. It just keeps going. How low can they go? More. Anya Alvarez says the Special Olympics is one of the organizations there. The work they do is incredibly important, meaningful, and life-changing. Absolutely. And it's ridiculous that she's trying to cut the funding. This administration, she continues, is filled with loads of heartless creatures with no moral code or sense of human decency. Max Byrne says, Betsy DeVos just announced the Department of Education will end all funding for the Special Olympics under the new budget. And I think that's a tweet that everybody's referring to. T-Pain says, fun fact, Trump has spent 270 days at one of his golf courses. If he had spent only 250 days, it would pay for the Special Olympics. Wow. That is devastating. Not only that, Trump himself had paid $50,000 to create a golf simulator in the White House during the shutdown because he couldn't leave. Ridiculous. More. Tony Poznanski says, Betsy DeVos is trending, so that means one of 5 things. She did something horrible. She took away money from something meaningful and worthwhile. Someone is missing Dalmatians. A house fell on her. Or all of the above. That's an excellent tweet. Molly Jong Fast says, beside that, $18 million could be spent on a Secret Service protection for the president's large adult children or for golf cart rentals. Red T Raccoon says, overlooked in the Special Olympics outrage against Betsy DeVos is the 26% cut to state grants for special education. So not only compounding the complete and utter disregard for the disabled. There's more. Let's see. That's a continuation of the tweet from Raccoon. Says, my son couldn't read coming out of first grade. An IEP was put in place and he received special ed services. He now reads at grade level. We must fund special ed. Absolutely. We must fund special ed. Again, all they need is opportunity. I mean, that's it. And here, This budget denies them opportunity as it denies so many other people opportunity as well to get a better education. And so you're just cutting people off at the knees. There's more. Eden Clay says, putting Betsy DeVos in charge of education is like putting Cruella DeVille in charge of Dalmatian Rescue. That's great. Steve Marmol said, Betsy DeVos has a net worth of $5.2 billion. She could personally fund a Special Olympics with pocket change, but the joy she gets in cruelty is priceless. Finally, Tony Poznanski says, there's absolutely no good reason to cut funding for the Special Olympics except being a cruel and heartless piece of S. Congratulations, Betsy DeVos. I didn't think there was a place lower than rock bottom. You hit it. And that she did. The complete and utter disregard for humanity, for the least among us, from this administration, from Republicans, and from, I should say, a lot of wealthy people, is just unfathomable. How can you not care about people? How can you put your own wealth and privilege above helping other people? I know. I don't understand. Maybe they think they're better. Maybe they probably do. But in reality, the wealth doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you a better person. And it certainly doesn't make you worthy of admiration. In reality, excessive wealth should be frowned upon. People should look at you and say, why are you hoarding all that when you could be helping others, when you could be really helping society? And I don't mean from charity, which is a tax write-off. Okay? No, what I mean is actually helping people and actually giving a significant amount of what you have to help people. People like DeVos won't do that because they don't have anything in their hearts. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.